Well, happy Monday. I'm Marlon Bowling, your tour guide to the ag commodities, and I trust that you made it through the weekend just fine. Man, oh man, thoughts and prayers to everybody in the Mid-South region and the southwestern part of the Corn Belt that just got hammered by historic storms over the weekend. We are sure thinking about everybody out there. What a wide swath of destruction that was, and it actually impacted a lot of people. Well, either that we all know here at work or actually that we work with had near misses. So that was a very eye-opening experience. Thoughts and prayers to everybody that was impacted not only by fatalities and also widespread injuries, but also a hat tip to all the first responders. And I want to give a hat tip to Tim Ross and Jeff Womack, our own meteorologists, who actually gave everybody a heads up by several days before that event even happened. And it could have been maybe much worse had it not been for their efforts and other meteorologists all around the Mid-South region that got everybody prepared. So hats off to them. I want to welcome aboard Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions. He is in Springfield, Missouri. And Brian, the grain market overnight has no enthusiasm whatsoever. We're a little weaker everywhere you look. And I want to take a look at some of these prices and get your thoughts on why it's doing what it's doing and what to expect here early this week. Let's go to the corn. With our quotes provided by Bar Chart, you had the March corn 2 1/4 lower at 587 3/4, and on the soybean trade overnight, we had the let's go with January. It was down 6 3/4 at 12.61. March was down 6.5 cents. In the wheat market in Chicago, we go with the March contract. It was down 6 1/4 overnight at 7.79 per bushel. Kansas City wheat, you had March down 4.5 cents at 8.01, and you had Minneapolis wheat on the March contract down 9 at 10.12 3/4. So all kinds of bearishness rampant across the grain complex, although you did have the cotton market showing March 93 points higher at 107.16. Brian, I believe we have, is it last trading day already tomorrow on December contracts on the grain futures?
Hey, good morning, Marlon, and glad to hear that you're safe and everybody there at RFD TV. Yeah, tomorrow is last trading day, December the 14th for December grain futures. So they'll go off the board probably with very little fanfare. Most of the deliveries and any rollings already taken place. Wednesday is the NOPA crush report, and that's pretty much it on tap for this week as far as any major reports that's coming out. It's going to be fairly mild, and we're going to be watching weather really closely, especially South American weather in southern Brazil and Argentina, where it's drier than desired, and there is a blocking feature that's expected to keep rainfall limited over the next 10 days, and that could be positive for our grain prices. It usually is, and it should be, and it should lead to some additional export sales. We didn't have one Friday or announced this morning, but I would expect by end of the week that we'll start to hear some more sale announcements being reported.
All right, Brian, we'll pause right here. We'll come back and talk more about our market setup here for this Monday. We're talking with Brian Hoops. We'll be back right after this. We are back with Brian Hoops of Midwest Market Solutions here on a Monday morning. And Brian, I just wondered if you had a chance to catch up on what the Commitment of Traders report showed for the fund positioning on grain and livestock.
Yeah, you look at that every Friday afternoon, and there was not major changes, but we did see the funds being buyers of corn and soybeans last week, a little over 15,000 corn, 4,300 soybeans. They were light sellers of wheat, around 2,600 contracts. They've been kind of moving from a net long position in the wheat to a little bit more of a bearish position here, and that is starting to show as that trend is starting to break down. Now we're going to see the funds probably start to sell rallies in the wheat, and that may be a drag on corn and soybean values that have been trying to work higher. But if wheat works lower, it certainly is going to be limiting factor as far as how high corn and soybeans could rally.
Wanted to take a look at the dollar value overnight, and it looked like we had a firmer tone here. December futures 200 points higher, March futures up 146 points. So the dollar solidly over 96. Is that going to be a drag on the ag commodities today?
Yeah, so far it has been. I think that's one of the reasons why we were lower overnight, along with some tactical selling. The fact that the dollar was higher, that limited any interest in the So we did see some pressure, selling pressure in corn, soybeans, wheat overnight, partially due to a higher U.S. dollar.
Let's look at our cattle, how we closed Friday. We were higher across the board. We had February only 27 cents higher, though, at 138.07. If you look at the feeder cattle closed Friday, we had March up 22 cents at 165.30, not overly exciting there. And if you look at the lean hogs, they are the ones that had the gold star Friday. February, $3.20 higher at 81.02. Do you think we'll see a repeat of that today?
Yeah, that was all about short covering in the hog market. So I think you're probably not going to see another $3 move. I don't think you'll see a lot of short covering develop once again in that hog market. The cattle had some negative news last week, and I think they're still assessing show list numbers this week, trying to figure out where the cash is going to be. But cash was steady to $2 lower last week. The boxed beef was mostly lower. You had steer weights increasing 4 pounds, and then you also had weekly exports hitting a market year low. So a lot of negative news on the cattle market. And, we may go test some support again in early dealings this week, but hopefully that can hold as there is a strong seasonal to rally this cattle market from now through early part of January.
I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you for all that information, Brian. Great stuff. Brian Hoops, the president of Midwest Market Solutions. Tammy, we're about ready to get underway. We'll get the market rolling at the bottom of the hour.